Morning, everyone. My name is Leslie Reed, and on behalf of Madison Park Development Corporation, welcome to the DeWitt Center in Madison Park Village. We're particularly proud to be here with you today to continue our legacy of partnering with the City of Boston and Nubian Square and Roxbury on community development projects that result in inclusive and diverse development projects. We're especially excited to host this important announcement of funding across the entire city, including in Roxbury, Dorchester, Hyde Park, Jamaica Plain. We're also thrilled to be taking an important step toward completing our vision for the redevelopment of Parcel 10, as it's been a really long time coming. And I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge our partners, Tropical Market and Trinity Financial, for their important partnership in achieving the outcome of the Parcel 10 vision. We are so very excited about the commitments being made towards inclusive and equitable development, and I'm sure y'all can't wait to hear more about the investments towards those goals today. So without further ado, it is my pleasure to introduce and welcome Mayor Michelle Wu.
Good morning. Thank you so much, Leslie, for all of your leadership and for hosting us today. I'm excited to be joined by many leaders who have been working on housing affordability and stability across the city. I will recognize a few of them here who will speak after me, and then I want to invite all of my colleagues in government to say a few words after that as well. So we will hear shortly also from Catherine Hardaway, the chair of the Neighborhood Housing Trust, from Felicia Jacques, chair of the Community Preservation Committee, and Jessica Boatwright, who will give us a rundown of all of the projects that we're discussing here. I'm also joined by our Chief of the Office of Housing, Sheila Dillon, who is a long time staple in this community and works so hard. I see Kate Bennett, the Director of the Boston Housing Authority, our Administrator. Thank you for your leadership. Is Thadeen here? Thadeen Brown, of the who is the Deputy Director of the Community Preservation Program for Boston, who has worked in vetting and recruiting projects to ensure that we are fulfilling our commitments to affordability as well. And then I'm also joined by colleagues in government, State Representative China Tyler, City Councilors at Large Ruth C. Lujen and Aaron Murphy, as well as District Councilors Tanya Fernandez-Anderson, Kenzie Bach, and Brian Worrell, who you will hear from shortly. So, I will keep my remarks short, just to remind everyone that 5 days ago we were standing outside in front of the Mildred Haley development celebrating an infusion of funds from city and federal sources for affordable housing. That development and that community had been fighting and advocating for renovations that are badly needed for years. And we were proud to make sure that the resources that the City of Boston has in this moment of recovery are going to ensure this community has supports. But today I want to emphasize that our commitment to housing affordability and stability truly is citywide. We are here to announce $40 million in new recommended funding to create and preserve 718 affordable housing units in Jamaica Plain, Dorchester, Chinatown, Hyde Park, and Roxbury. Housing is a human right. Housing is health, it is opportunity and safety and stability, and it must be the foundation for our recovery from this pandemic. The funds that are going to be used in partnering with community organizations and community leaders in creating more than 700 affordable housing units will come from the Mayor's Office of Housing's budget, our Neighborhood Housing Trust, and the Community Preservation Fund. And so I want to once again thank so many who were involved in building a coalition to advocate for passage of the community preservation, of Boston's participation in the Community Preservation Act, which continues to drive resources available for affordable housing, historic preservation, and open space across the city. There are 14 projects that we will hear about today, including in Chinatown, an income-restricted development next to Tai Tung Village, in an area of the city that is on the edge of a surge in housing costs that is driving residents out, and in an immigrant community that has been so important to the history and heritage of the city. We're also going to fund senior housing at B'nai B'rith in Hyde Park, income-restricted housing in Jamaica Plain on formerly Boston Housing Authority-owned land, and many other projects that will bring the dreams of 718 families to the city of Boston, allowing for our communities to continue growing and thriving. And as we look ahead, we will continue to ensure that not only the types of projects represented today will continue to be replicated across the city, but the processes in which we recruited and supported and vetted these projects, giving priority to minority-owned businesses to ensure that we continue to close the racial wealth gap in every way possible, attaching requirements for zero emission standards, each and every one of these projects, a transit-oriented development that will continue to further our climate goals as well. We know that all of our challenges are intersectional and interconnected. And with this funding that we have in a once-in-a-generation opportunity to repair and rebuild and heal from this pandemic, we have to ensure that we're laying a foundation for climate justice, for housing justice, for racial and economic justice for generations to come. And so I am so excited to celebrate the developments that we are funding today. I'm going to pass it over to Chief Sheila Dillon to say a few words.
Hi, I will be very, very brief before we hear from some of the funding teams. I do, though, want to thank, and just echo some of the things the mayor said, I want to thank the development teams that are here today that have worked so hard, and as importantly, the neighborhoods that they have worked in, the neighbors that have come out meeting after meeting, listened to all of the comments, and really shaped these projects to be stronger and better and more reflective of neighborhoods' dreams and visions. I also want to acknowledge other city departments that have worked alongside the Mayor's Office of Housing to shape these projects. Boston Housing Authority, Kate was mentioned, the BPDA, Office of Neighborhood Services, attending all of those meetings, and our very own A&F department that makes a lot of the city funding available. So Jessica's going to read these proposals at the end, so I just wanted to thank you all for your work. These are years in the making, and we are very, very excited to invest in them. So with that, I would like to hand it over to Felicia Jacques from, Catherine Hardaway, the chair of the Neighborhood Housing Trust, to talk about their participation in this year's round. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I am very pleased to be here this morning with many of the folks from the city who we all work together to try and make sure that we are addressing the problem of housing in the city of Boston. This year, the Trust is funding 6 projects. The projects include over 100 new rental units in and around Nubian Square, 63 new senior housing units, preservation to serve multiple special projects in Dorchester, and strong rental projects in the part of the city. I have served on the Trust for maybe almost 10 years. And every time I go to a meeting and sit down with the other trustees in the room, we take very seriously the issue of housing in the city of Boston. And I want to commend the city for the work that they have done over the years to ensure that we continue working at the issue of housing for those who need housing. I want to thank all of you for being here this morning and helping us to get the word out about the housing that the city does do for Boston. I've been on the Trust, as I said, for I think almost 10 years, but we've done a lot of good work in and about the neighborhoods. And I don't know that the city has always gotten recognition for that. But the trustees do a wonderful job, and it's probably one of the committees that I am most fond of, because we're really addressing a very serious issue, and that is the issue of housing. Everyone should be able to have a place to go at night, lay their head down, a roof over their head. food to eat. The Housing Trust has worked adamantly to help solve or work at solving the issue of housing. We're not quite there yet, but we will get there if we all keep working together. So thank you for coming this morning.
Now I'll invite up Felicia Jacques, Chair of the Community Preservation Committee.
Thank you very much. Madam Mayor, elected officials, department heads, and the community, thank you very much for inviting us to speak today. As chair of Boston's Community Preservation Committee, the committee takes seriously our role and commitment in awarding noteworthy community projects fundings in the area of affordable housing, historic preservation, and open space. This year, the CPA program received over 88 applications for funding. Staff has assessed for threshold and feasibility, and after several months of review and public input in 8 committee meetings to date, the committee has accepted a slate of fundable projects across 3 categories. We are pleased to identify 9 affordable housing projects located in the neighborhoods of great needs for high quality, safe, and affordable housing. Amongst these neighborhoods, Dorchester, Roxbury, Chinatown, and Jamaica Plain are represented and reflect $14.6 million in CPA funding to support this housing, reflecting an award of over 50% of this year's CPA allocation for affordable housing. So, bravo. The committee continues our work for this year's slate of projects. In next week's meeting, we will tentatively vote to approve the full slate of approximately 53 projects across all 3 categories, with a final vote on February 7th for funded projects. This slate will be recommended to the Mayor's Office for funding to be presented to Michael Flaherty as Chair of Housing to the City Council in early spring. The committee has been very pleased to be part of this process, and to be able to provide funding for these 9 projects has been a significant goal of the committee's ever since the round started. Thank you very much.
And next, Jessica Boatwright from the Office of Housing.
Good morning, everyone. I am very pleased to have the role of getting to announce the specific projects that we're going to be funding this year. So I'm pleased that I think there's representation from all of our awarded teams. I'm going to read through all the projects, and then I think we're going to have folks come up at the end of that for a big picture. So before I go into this, I just want to acknowledge the staff that work with Chief Dillon and myself to partner with the development teams, really understand the work that people are trying to do in each neighborhood, and the partnership that they've had with neighborhoods to get to this point today. So want to acknowledge all the hard work of those folks. I'm going to do this by neighborhood. So our first project is in Chinatown. As the mayor mentioned, there'll be an award of $3.5 million to Beacon Communities and Chinese Consolidated Benevolent Association for the redevelopment of the 288 Harrison residences, which will be an 85-unit mixed income development. Our next set of projects are in Dorchester. The first is $2.5 million for the construction of Viet Aids Hamilton and Mount Everett, a new senior supportive housing community with 36 affordable apartments and services provided by Hebrew Senior Life. $2.1 million for Codman Square Neighborhood Development Corporation for Talbot Commons 2, which will create 42 income-restricted rental units at a variety of unit sizes using 2 formerly vacant city-owned parcels. $601,527 for Cruz Development's DMH Housing at Harvard Commons, which will create 4 service-enriched units for clients of the Department of Mental Health at Harvard Commons. Finally, in Dorchester, $885,818 for the Affordable Housing and Service Collaborative's preservation of Columbia West, which will secure the financial future of 2 buildings that serve senior individuals with disabilities and formerly homeless individuals. In Hyde Park, there'll be an award of $4.5 million for B'nai B'rith's Housing's development of 1201 River Street, which is a 63-unit mixed-income community in Logan Square for seniors. In Jamaica Plain, $4.8 million to the community builders for 127 Amory Street, a partnership with the Boston Housing Authority that will redevelop a former BHA public safety building and garage to create 96 new homes. And $3.95 million to the community builders and to growth companies for the Stoneleigh Brookley homeownership development, a 45-unit homeownership development that will include units specifically designated for artist live-work use. We close out the list with a number of fantastic projects right here in Roxbury and in around Nubian Square. The first is a $4.5 million award to Trinity Financial and Madison Park Neighborhood Development Corporation for 2085 Washington Street, which will be a 10-story transit-oriented rental and homeownership building on a gateway corner in Nubian Square. $2.5 million to the NHP Foundation's Nuba Apartment, a 60-unit rental building that is one of 2 affordable buildings that will be developed on the BPDA-owned Parcel 8. The second of those is $4.6 million around for Urbanica's development of Nuba Homes, also on Parcel 8. That'll create 49 new income-restricted homeownership opportunities, and that building will also include artist housing. $2 million to Nuestra Comunidad for the development of Bartlett Station D, a new rental building on the Bartlett Yards campus, which will include 44 new income-restricted apartments. And also on the Bartlett campus, $2.48 million to Windale Development for Unity Station condos, which will create 24 new homeownership opportunities to a mix of incomes. And then our final award at $1.08 million is to Nubian Ascends Partners for Nubian Ascends Artist Housing, which will create 15 new homeownership units on the mixed-use campus that will be the redevelopment of the Blair lot. So that's our list. Thank you so much to all the development teams. Okay, yeah. And before we take a photograph, are there any other leaders that want to speak to this? Okay.
So I'll just go in the order that folks are standing, inviting up State Representative China Tyler.
Good morning, everyone. Again, I'm Representative China Tyler. I represent this district, the 7th Suffolk District on Beacon Hill at the Massachusetts State House. And of the many hours that my colleagues and I and many people here spend on community meetings trying to balance the conversations between developers and community, we are so grateful and proud to be here today because the amount of money that's being spent and the investment that's being spent today is very intentional. On Beacon Hill, we do a lot to make sure that millions of dollars goes to the city of Boston and many other municipalities through the community preservation funds. And in the past, we've been a little bit concerned because, again, as you know, the community preservation funds can be used for one of 3 things, preservation, parks, and housing. And in the past, we've seen that be in balance, and we've been concerned about the amount of affordability as far as housing is concerned, and affordability to us here, not to the general world. And we are very, very proud to be able to, see that these projects will allow for people to be able to afford to stay in Boston and live in Boston, and we look forward to continuing to partner with the City of Boston and Mayor Wu to be able to push more funds toward preservation and many other forms of affordable housing. Before I end, I want to thank developers, particularly developers in my district, because it's amazing to see people of color, their portfolios be fulfilled and portfolios be, rise and risen up here. So thank you so much to Cruz Development for being here. John and Dan, they're here. And thank you so much to Rich Taylor. I look forward to many more projects with you all, and hopefully you'll be able to see something done when it comes to workforce and development and equity in that space. So thank you guys so much. Have a good day.
City Councilor Erin Murphy.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Erin Murphy. I'm your at-large city councilor. It's exciting to be here today. I'm a renter in Dorchester, so I do know firsthand how the rising cost of housing can push families out of the city. Displacement is real, we know it's real, and low and middle income people are increasingly getting squeezed out of the market in their neighborhoods, and it's changing the fabric of our city. We have a housing crisis, and we need to address it head on with smart and creative ways. And what we heard this morning and all the hard work that went into being able to stand here and read that amazing list of opportunities that are going to be here in our city for homes for people that deserve them is just very exciting to me. I'm a strong supporter of the city's linkage program, and I know that 42% increase really made a difference in that $80 million that has been spent since 2014 on affordable housing has made a difference. But like Representative Tyler said, we need to make sure that that CPA funding is also equitably going to affordable housing also, and not just on open spaces. The CPA committing $30 million for affordable housing is a critical tool to address our housing crisis, and I'm glad that Mayor Wu and her administration has made it a priority to increase affordability and stop displacement. So as a member of the council, I'll be working alongside the administration, making sure we continue to have opportunities like this. Today is a real-life example for City Community Preservation Committee and the Neighborhood Housing Trust coming together and making a difference. So I thank everyone who's worked so hard to make this a reality, and I look forward to seeing people moving in and really making a difference in the lives of everyone. So thank you so much.
Councilor Brian Worrell.
Good morning, everyone. District 4 Boston City Councilor Brian Worrell. And an investment in affordable housing is an investment in the stability for residents across the city. I'm excited to see the attention and commitment that Mayor Wu has placed on the working class by making affordable housing a priority here in the city of Boston. Thank you.
And City Councilor Ruth Z. Lujan.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Ruth Z. Louisiane. I am one of your at-large city councilors here in the city of Boston. I'm so excited to be among all of you to proclaim that housing is a human right, and we have to work towards that. So thank you to everyone here. The partnership to solve a complex issue, this is what it looks like, right? And this the work that it takes to create, we've commodified housing to such an extent that it's created so many barriers for our families. And so it takes these deep partnerships of the Neighborhood Housing Trust, of community preservation funds, of BHA, of folks working together to really solve this affordability crisis. We know that housing justice is also racial justice based on our policy actions and inactions in the past, and how that's really stymied the ability of families to either build wealth or to find housing. So it takes all of us. I'm encouraged when I was hearing Mrs. Hardaway talk about how the Neighborhood Housing Trust is one of the joys, a joy in her life of being able to really think critically about how we solve this complex issue. Our role as elected officials is to think about how we can get more money, drive more of the city's resources to solve this crisis, whether that's getting more money into the Neighborhood Housing Trust, looking at what we can do around tax incentives, and in our own budget. If our budget is our value statement, then we need to put our money where our mouth is and support affordable housing. So thank you. I'm really encouraged today and happy and excited to work along each and every one of you. So thank you.
Okay, so let's take a group picture with all the development teams, and then, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't even see you guys over here. Oh my God. I had my list too written here. I'm so sorry. Okay, I'm going to invite up Councilor Kenzie Bach and then Councilor Tanya Fernandez-Anderson as well. So sorry.
No worries. Hi, everyone. I'll be super brief. I just want to say that both linkage, which is what funds the Neighborhood Housing Trust, and the Community Preservation Act are examples of the residents of the city of Boston saying that we need more funds for housing. Linkage got set up in the 80s, and it has been a constant source of often some of the only funds for affordable housing for decades now. And then, as the mayor alluded to in 2016, the residents of Boston took a vote to tax ourselves. There's a great match from the state, but also this is significant money of our own in Boston to say we need everyone to be able to stay here. We need a city that's for all. And I am so encouraged that the mayor has talked recently about further sources that we need to find, because this isn't just about how we allocate the monies we already have. It is about finding new resources. And so whether we're talking about a transfer tax, whether we're talking about futures of higher linkage, and also, as Councilor Lujan said, thinking about how we allocate things like our federal funds, I just want to stress that again and again, the people of Boston have made themselves clear, and those of us in elected leadership have taken steps to make real the fact that there is nothing more important to the makeup and the opportunities of the city than who gets to live here. So very encouraged to be here today. Thanks.
And our host counselor, Councilor Tanya Fernandez-Anderson.
Good morning, everyone. Assalamu alaikum. I think I want to speak to the people on the ground, right? As a 10-year-old coming from West Africa to live in the projects right here in Roxbury, Academy Homes, I deeply understand this issue of not having housing security, right? And I just wanted to shout out my sister, Angelina Camacho, who is here today, and look forward to working with you. I want to say that I've also, right, so if you've heard my story, I've also experienced homelessness a couple of times. And this is an issue that is not only, so on this level, right, on this macro level, it feels grand, and on the ground, I think there are a lot of people that have put their blood, sweat, and tears and have fought, activists and families who have cried and prayed over this. And I just want to say, yes, this is a beginning, and it's a huge accomplishment, and I'm so proud of this administration to have done so, and all the people that have collaborated. Ms. Hardaway, absolutely a pleasure, and look forward to continue to work with the community, certainly my constituents in District 7, to be able to represent you as we always try to do in Spanish and Portuguese or Cape Verdean Creole. I won't do that this time, but certainly if you'll understand that we are here to advocate for you, and will continue to work with you and fight for you. And please contact my office if you should need any assistance in advocating further with these, and continuing to work with the communities to advocate in the community process and how this is going to shape up as well. I look forward, and I thank you.
All right, so let's invite up the development teams for a photo here, and then I'll reframe for a scrum for any media who have more questions, sort of over by Emma. Great. Development team, come on up. You've never been shy before, so.